Hey, I just made this cool little bow today. I'm going to cut it right in half and show you how to make a takedown in a way you've probably never seen before, so stay tuned. Hey, Joel here from American Survival Co. and this video is going to be a brand new method that I learned from Dave Mead himself on making a takedown. There's lots of other methods that I've tried throughout the years. This is cool, totally new to me. When I saw it, I was like, I have to try it. And so we're going to take this bow I just finished making today and turn it into a takedown. So step one is make a bow. I did this using the advanced kit. You gotta shape it all out yourself and tiller it. Great little kit. But now that it's made, I'm basically going to chop this right in half. So first things first, I worked real hard to get alignment in my bow, and I don't want to lose that. So I'm simply gonna mark my center where I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna mark center line down the handle, because when I go to put these pieces together, if one is off, you know, we can impart some twist onto the limbs, and we don't want that. So we want to keep track of it, and I'm simply going to do that by marking some lines. So obviously, if you had a way to steady this and use power tools, more power to you. I have that. I just didn't want to whip it out. I got this little cheapo thing from like Home Depot or something like that, and I got it lined up on the line and clamped in place, and I'm just going to be as careful as I can to cut this a nice straight true line. Okay, so now since we got our nice clean cut, we're going to find our center by measuring. And here, where we're going to drill our hole, we want to make sure, you know, that's pretty spot on. We want this to be as precise as we can get. So I'm going to measure this out, find my center on both pieces, and mark it with an X. Once we got our limbs centered and marked out, we're ready for the next step, which is going to be to make some sort of jig to drill a nice squared perpendicular hole. Now, if you have something like a drill press, you can go ahead and just throw it on a pretty decently thick piece of wood and drill a nice straight hole and use that to guide your drill bit so that it's nice and square. I don't have that, but what I do have is this little hole guide. I make a lot of my own furniture, and I'm just going to use that. It's got these steel inserts that's going to keep my drill bit nice and squared up to the wood. I'm going to clamp that down and just drill my hole. So once you got your hole guide all set, and there's many other ways to do this, it's just a quick and down and dirty way. If you Google search it, how to drill a straight hole with a electric drill, a lot of stuff comes up, but it depends on how much time you want to invest in it. I'm going to call this good enough. It's going to get me squared up, and that's all we really care about. It's just hard to put something like a limb in a drill press. So my hole jig's done, and then the next thing I went and did is I secured my drill collar so that when I'm using the jig, I have 1 inch protruding, because I'm using a 2-inch long 3/8 dowel. Now I'm making this for a pretty lightweight bow. If I was going heavier, like a hunting weight model around 50 pounds, I would probably beef this up, but I just had this on hand, and it's a lighter weight target bow, so that's why I'm going with this. So this is what I was able to come up with. Here's the jig we just made with the straight hole guide. It's clamped to the table right here. I got my limb lined up, centered in that hole where I want to drill, and I'm using another piece of wood right here and a clamp to keep my limb rock steady as I'm drilling. Any way you could think to get this done. That's just what I was able to come up with, and it's going to work for me. You might have access to better and different tools, but the name of the game is we want a nice, true, squared up, perpendicular hole going right down the center of that handle. Here's what happens when you're just a little bit off drilling your holes. Not fun. Take your time. It's not the end of the world. What I'm going to do is I'm going to super glue dowel in place, trim it off flush, re-drill my hole, and take my time, get it right. But yeah, that's why you're going through all this mess of trying to drill a perfect hole. It's not as easy as it looks. But I will say, you do want to take your time and get this perfectly lined up. What I ended up having to do, because I was rushing a little bit, is fill this back in with dowels, cut it back. I basically had to do it twice, and I took my time the second time, and we got a good result. So this lines up nice and perfect, like nothing ever happened. So the next step is going to be, I'm going to take my top limb and glue this dowel in. And I'm just going to use the industrial strength glue that comes with the kit. Okay, so once our dowel is glued in and we're happy with our alignment, we're ready to move on to the next step. We're going to need some water, some bow adhesive wrap, some cling wrap, some Vaseline, maybe some scissors, and some gloves. So the first thing I'm going to do is wrap my lower limb with the cling wrap. Then I'm going to lather it up with some Vaseline. Throw on some gloves. Got my bow adhesive wrap ready. I'm going to tear this open and soak it in the water for 5 seconds. Okay, this stuff cures in a matter of minutes, so I'm going to squeeze out the excess, get my bow parts lined up, make sure that's good to go, and I'm going to wrap this whole handle section. Make sure you're maintaining alignment. Don't be in a hurry to mess this up. And I definitely want this to come fairly far up the handle, and I want it to be a couple layers deep. And before it really cures, we want to make sure everything is where it needs to be and aligned. So I'm just double checking alignment, making sure everything's good to go. You don't want it to shift on you while it's curing. And I'm going to give it a little time to cure. Before it completely hardens, we can pull this out. And as this is curing, we've just essentially made a sleeve for our takedown. And so I don't want to touch this too much. I don't want to distort the shape. And I'm going to let this cure. And we'll see how we did. So I've let this cure for about an hour and I've put it back together. And she's good to go, nice and tight fitting. All that's left to do now is throw a string on it and shoot some arrows. Pretty slick, quick, cost-effective way to make a takedown. If you've got that favorite bow that you just can't take with you on trips or whatever, try it out. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a bamboo bow or anything like that. You can do this to any bow, which is pretty cool. If you're into this kind of stuff, check out meadlongbows.com. A lot of great stuff up there. We run classes as well. We have a one-day class. But I really like running the two-day class because it's kind of like quick access to tillering experience. If that's in your wheelhouse, I encourage you to check it out. AmericanSurvivalCo.com for more information, or Mead Longbows. Until the next video, guys. Catch you later.